The Patriots and Falcons meet in Super Bowl 51, February 5th in Houston on Fox. Shireen Williams covers the Cowboys and the NFL for the Star-Telegram. I'm a believer in the Falcons now. I wasn't going into the game. How long have you believed in this Atlanta team?
I think after what we saw Sunday, for sure, I'm a believer now. Yeah, the regular season left some doubt. They ranked 28th against the pass, and that defense, you go, well, they might not be good enough to get there, but they left no doubt Sunday with what they did in dismantling the Green Bay Packers.
Still Ryan's first Super Bowl, Brady's seventh. Does that automatically give New England an edge in this game, do you think?
Well, I think Bill Belichick and Tom Brady haven't been there so many times. Certainly they have an edge. It doesn't mean they're going to win the game. We've seen that before when New England goes in there and has lost a few of these Super Bowls. So it's not an automatic edge, but certainly they do have an edge because they have been there so many times. And as everyone's saying, give Bill Belichick 2 weeks to diagnose something, and he's going to be pretty darn good, put a good game plan together, and I think he will.
You leaning Atlanta though right now?
I'm leaning. How can you not lean Atlanta with what they did to Green Bay? Really, I mean, you know, yes, New England has the edges in experience and Tom Brady, of course, but just look at those weapons that Atlanta has, and that defense has come on after the first 12 games. They're almost 9 points better, allowing fewer points in these past 6 games, including the playoffs. That defense has started to come on, and we've seen Vic Beasley and some of those guys really get better. So, yeah, I like what Atlanta's done. I think they're the hottest team right now. I think it's going to be a fun Super Bowl. Of course, I thought yesterday's games were going to be fun.
There haven't been many fun in terms of closeness, NFL playoff games. I'm kind of leaning New England now, but I'll give my official wrong prediction right before the game. Given the way that Atlanta handled Green Bay, a Green Bay team that had edged the Cowboys, does it follow that the Cowboys really would have struggled against Atlanta? Conditions would have been different. There would have been some differences in the game, but it makes you wonder how Dallas would have stacked up against the Falcons.
Boy, it does. I know they would have had home field advantage, which certainly helps. They would have run the ball. They wouldn't have had 3 rushing attempts in the first half. I know that for sure. And teams have been able to run on Atlanta. I would have liked to have seen that matchup. I do think it would have been a closer game. I also think that the Atlanta Falcons would have beaten the Dallas Cowboys. They would have been able to score enough points that I don't think the Cowboys could have kept up with them. It would have been a lot like that Green Bay Cowboys games in that I think it would have come down to the end, and I think the Falcons would have won it at the end.
Hall of Fame voting is Saturday before the Super Bowl. Of course, you're heavily involved in that. Jerry Jones is a finalist in the contributor category. Is he a shoo-in?
I think he's got a really good chance to get in. You pause a little bit to say shoo-in. That's only for a handful of guys, the John Elways, the Troy Aikmans, some of those types of guys, Emmitt Smiths. But I think he's got a really good shot to go in. I would be surprised if he doesn't go in. I think there's been a big push for Jerry to get in. This contributors category was added just for guys like Jerry to go in. The first 3 contributors on the ballot over the last 2 years have gone into the Hall of Fame. So I think Jerry will go into the Hall of Fame. I just hesitate to call him a shoo-in.
Do you make the presentation on Jerry's behalf?
Rick Goslin will make the presentation for the Dallas Morning News.
And LaDainian Tomlinson is the TCU legend who's among the players who are finalists to get into the Hall of Fame. Again, he would seem to have a pretty good shot as well here in his first year.
Well, you would think so. 5th all-time in rushing. Curtis Martin's 4th and had to wait a year, so little concerned that he might have to wait a year. But rushing touchdowns, he's 2nd behind Emmitt Smith all time. I mean, you just start going and going. 11-year career. I think the one thing, and he'll tell you this, that voters might hold against him is the postseason. He was not good in the postseason, averaged under 50 yards in the 10 playoff games that he played in, and of course played in 2 championship games and was really bad in those 2 playoff championship games because he was injured in the first one and old in the second one when he's with the Jets. So, you know, voters may have some questions about what he did in the postseason and not getting the Super Bowl ring. Otherwise, I don't know there's any kind of questions about what he did in his career. It was long enough and it was productive enough.
What's that room like when those arguments, discussions, cases are being presented, right?
It's a lot of fun. I think Tagliabue, the former commissioner, Paul Tagliabue, will be an interesting case this year. I think he will be the longest discussed candidate this year, and there will be a lot of sentiment against Paul Tagliabue this year, I believe. So he's going to be the most interesting one to me who's on the ballot this year. But the discussions are always intriguing. Sometimes you go in there with ideas about who's going to go in, and you come out completely different. You can feel kind of the momentum shift. Ralph Wilson was an example, the Buffalo Bills owner. Had no idea when we went into that room that he was going to come out as a Hall of Famer, and he did. There was just a lot of momentum build. Chris Carter, the year he went in, I think it was the same thing. We finally got one of those receivers in there, and it happened to be him. He just kind of built that momentum.
Terrell Owens, a finalist, Kurt Warner as well, so it'll be interesting on that Saturday. Then, of course, Super Bowl Sunday on February 5th. Shireen Williams will be there from the Star-Telegram. As always, we appreciate it. Thanks.